Hello.
Took us a
Oh, how are
Hello.
you?
Hello.
Good morning. Well, if we didn't have some technical difficulty, it wouldn't be the first show, right, guys?
Definitely
yeah,
so.
definitely.
So,
Yeah,
thank you
Yash.
for being the
amazing.
first one. That takes bravery. Takes bravery at the very least. So thank you so much.
Absolutely. It only took us 2 minutes, gentlemen. We're right on time.
Right on time indeed.
Yeah,
Thank you so
definitely.
much. Welcome.
So Yash,
So yeah, here we are starting the very first UX talk show. I'm just really happy that we are doing this, pulling this off, and yeah, uh, I would say that we have really great speakers here. We have Giga, we have Andrew, we have Victor. I would just want each of you to be introducing yourself, and then we'll be going to our lovely speaker here, Crystal, and we'll be giving an introduction. So yeah, Giga, if you can start.
Thank you, Yash. Thank you, everyone, for joining today. I'm Giga. I'm an experienced product manager and founder and CEO of Jobia AI, and I'm happy to be here with you guys today.
Amazing, amazing. Andrew, if you can.
I'm Andreu Ibanez. I will say I lead several Google developers communities in Spain, and I'm happy to start this new adventure with all of you.
Amazing, amazing. Victor, if you can go forward.
Hi everyone, my name is Victor Sanchez, Google developer expert from Spain, entrepreneur for 15 years or so. Yeah, really excited to be here today and have the opportunity to speak with Crystal.
Amazing. So yeah, I am Yash. I am a UXC and I just love to be in this accessibility user experience and stuff. I am a mentor at the Liquid Galaxy community, which is led by Sir Andrew here. And yeah, just amazing to be having this event. And we also have a lovely speaker. She is the co-founder and CEO of the Graceful Web Studio. We have Crystal. If you can just introduce yourself, it would be very lovely.
Sure. Hi there. I am Crystal Scott. As Yash said, I'm the founder and CEO of Graceful Web Studio. I'm also the founder of the Accessibility Book Club and a certified professional in web accessibility. I'm really happy to be on the show today.
Amazing. That's very great to know. And yeah, we are having a very great slide for the show to talk about Crystal. I would just love to know about your background first. How did you started off with user experience and accessibility? What was the background? And I believe that throughout your career, you have been into this user experience and by definition, accessibility field. So yeah, if you can go for that.
Sure. So I started off, of course, when my dad first brought home our computer back in the 90s when AOL Online was a thing. The computer took up like half of our dining room table, and I remember the blinking green cursor that I fell in love with as my dad typed in lines of code to get it to come to life. So that's how it all started. But then later on in life, I decided to go back to school for computers and fell in love with design. I actually started off as a designer in Photoshop back when we used to design in Photoshop. And then decided to get into coding to really leverage what I knew about design to be able to build things for myself. So I wasn't dependent upon other people building. And so I've got about 10 years of front-end development experience now. Started off just HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and then about 6 years ago, I got introduced to accessibility, and I was kind of like, oh my gosh, I've been building for 4 years, and I had no idea, and everything I built was wrong, and so just dove into accessibility head first and retaught myself how to code what I say the right way.
Definitely. I think that we have all done these mistakes in accessibility. First, the websites that we all have would be like totally inaccessible and just things going haywire. And to that, to just spending the rest of the time to building something accessible. I believe
Absolutely.
that I'm able to reflect. Yeah.
Yeah, if you don't know,
Uh,
you don't know. And then once you know, you can't unknow.
yeah. Amazing. I do feel that there are many rules to these accessibility. There are like many books out there. If there is something that you have in your mind, would be like great for developers to know about. Yeah, there is something called form validations, and if you can just touch upon that and about accessibility and books.
Sure. So one of my favorite books that I will highlight, we actually read it last year for the first time. It's the Web Accessibility Cookbook by Manuel Maltazovic. And this one right here, so he goes through really in-depth for developers specifically, all of these different recipes. And he talks about common pitfalls and gives solutions, real world code examples. Yeah, Yash does too. Yes, we love this book.
Yeah,
So
we
we
love
actually
those
read
too.
it. We read it last year in September for the book club, and I didn't get to finish it. And so we did it again this year in March, and I got to go all the way through it. We had a great talk with Manuel, and I just rave about this book. It's got so much in there. You know, Yash.
Yeah, I know that. I actually had this talk with Manuel as well. It was just amazing to be knowing it firsthand and just having that particular talk. And yeah, it was very beautiful. I would say that accessibility book club and the talks that you'd be having. And I believe that there were some talks about form validations recently that you came across. If you can just touch upon that and how it would be doing form
Sure.
validations.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've been a little obsessed with forums lately, with accessible forums, which, as most of you probably know, are one of the biggest UX issues out there. And you're going to be hard pressed to find any website that doesn't have a forum, right? So I was trying to create an accessible form solution for Webflow. And for years, I have struggled to overcome their submit button because, you get on some of these platforms and you want to create like client side validation. So you write your scripts and then you're battling with that submit button. And it's really hard sometimes to capture that submit event. And so that's the trouble we were running into on Webflow, where we were having to disable the buttons. And then, of course, I'm getting these newsletters, right? I signed up for a couple newsletters. I want to learn more. Adam Silver, I actually signed up for his newsletter. And as I went on to sign up for his newsletter, I noticed that his form was inaccessible. He had some failing contrast issues with his form borders, and his error messaging was actually the HTML5 validation messaging. And I was like, wait a minute, what's going on here? Like, you write a whole blog about, accessible forms and how to do it correctly, and then you've got these glaring issues. So of course, being me, I DM'd him privately and I was like, hey, what's up? Like, I was really excited to learn more about accessible forms, but your form is failing these things. So I kind of called him out, and he was so responsive though. That's one thing I love about our community as a whole. He was really responsive, and he was like, oh my gosh, you're right. I'm stuck on this platform. I have no control over the error validation. And I know what that feels like. But then he's like, but I can fix those form borders. And so he fixed the form borders like immediately. And he actually issued his next blog talking about, holding himself accountable and, what he did wrong and how he was thankful I brought it to his attention. So it turned out to be a really good experience, but still stuck on the platform, still using those HTML5 error validations.
Yeah. I believe that was the native code that is having some kind of tweaking that you would have to do to make it more accessible. If we talk about it, like I think that you talked about that there is some error validations that come up, but you cannot style them or something like that. So yeah, styling errors. I believe it's on the next sheet, the next slide. Yeah.
Yeah, so there's a lot wrong with HTML5 error validations, right? One of them, you can't style them. They look different in every browser you come to. They don't stay persistently visible. If you have autocomplete attributes on your form fields, that those autocomplete pop-up is going to be battling with that HTML5. So yeah, styling is a huge issue for those. Styling errors is always an issue too. Most of the time, people use the red color that is not going to pass contrast requirements, or they're just going to try to make that border red, which fails that use of color. So styling is a huge importance. You want to make sure that users can see the error messages. They should be naming the field in error, and they should be giving the users valuable feedback, like, what's wrong here? How do I fix it? There's so much that can go into this.
Yeah, definitely. I would love all the other speakers to also just be asking any questions that you may have. And yeah, this is just a lovely accessibility field that I want to dive into.
No one there. Victor, you are the
Just
developer expert on web. So
Andrew,
muted.
you're muted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
you're right, Crystal. Thank
It
you.
wouldn't be the first episode either if someone doesn't mute themselves when they try to speak, of course. So go for it, Andreu.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No. I was saying precisely that you have to be the one as being Google developer expert in web. That sounds so deep. So, what was your opinion on this thing of the forms? Because it seems it's illogic, because the web is full of forms. It is the first entry of contact with any user with entering data in any place, and then suddenly still we have, at this moment of the web, I can name how many years we're on the web, we still have this kind of, I will not say errors, but this kind of maybe still not so thinking.
They are at the very least terrible inconsistencies, right? As Crystal was mentioning, depending on the platform that you find yourself on, and again, many people is using these days having the ability to touch the code of your own website is a massive advantage that all of us here have. But there are a lot of users that are trapped in whatever software creation, whatever SaaS they are using to put together quickly their pages. And a lot of them don't have control, even if they want to do the best possible work on those. And another one that is an absolutely kind of worms, and I'm sure Crystal can comment a little bit on how, from the studio, you take kind of consideration of them, is the mobile experience, the way to fill forms in mobile, the way to respect usability rules and accessibility rules in mobile is an absolute nightmare as well, because what you are coding in one platform could very differently be filled somewhere else, especially on previous versions of iOS. There is plenty of issues with forms, type of keyboards, etc. So there is a lot of the experience that even us don't control, right? Which, for instance, what type of keyboard is being launched despite the type that you are using, etc. So I don't know if you find yourself in those situations often. And I'm sure as part of the studio, usually you have full control over the website, or do you do a lot of these kind of works for, I'm touching a WordPress today, I'm editing a theme? How do you usually find yourself in those situations?
Okay, well, great questions, Victor. Yeah, it really does depend on the platform. There are so many different limitations. I've worked on WordPress, for instance. I've worked on BigCommerce, Shopify, Squarespace. But today, actually launching my own studio, I'm lucky enough to be Webflow specific today. And I'm actually working on, I've found a way to overcome the barriers in Webflow using the jQuery validation plugin. Not sure if you devs have heard of that one before. If you haven't, you're going to want to Google it, because it's actually one of the better ones on the market today that you can plug and play into just about any platform, other than mobile for web platforms. But using this jQuery form validation plugin, I found a way to overcome the challenges of that submit button on the Webflow platform. And I'm currently working on a way to be able to share that with the community. I would like to build that into an app to put within the Webflow marketplace, and encourage users to use the app, and hopefully to make it much easier for them to be able to connect that themselves. So that's one way that I've overcome. But yes, I've seen it all, but I've decided to go Webflow specific because I really just want to hone my skills and master right where I'm at.
Now I have to ask, because obviously having your own studio, right, and being able to create anything from the ground up, and we are not sponsored by Webflow in any case, but obviously you made the decision for a reason, right? And probably after many years of professional experience, why did you choose it? I mean, because obviously there are plenty of different platforms. You mentioned some, and there are many others. Why did you choose it? What is the few things, or kind of the decision-making process of selecting something like this?
Well, so first of all, I need a platform that allows me to make anything I build fully accessible, right? And I love that Webflow allows me to build fast, build quickly. It has a beautiful designer space where you can design right there within your development environment, and you can write all sorts of custom code. So there aren't any limitations to semantics. There aren't any well, there's some limitations to semantics, excuse me. There's not like the native field set legend within Webflow, but I know how to overcome that quite easily with some custom code. And so I've been working in there for almost 4 years now, and I'm just super familiar with the platform. I know all of its idiosyncrasies, and I know that I can make things fully accessible within that platform. So that's number one reason for me. Plus, I love how fast I can build. I love the community, and I'm not plugin dependent. So that is one of the reasons I went screaming away from WordPress. No offense to anyone who uses WordPress, but the plugins for me, they were just a nightmare. The security issues, the constant updates, having to pay for these plugins to get this full functionality. Like, I don't want to have to pay for my website and the plugins and still be, open to having issues. So for me, Webflow, I'm completely sold out now.
Fantastic. No, I think those are excellent reasons. I have to support you 100%. I worked with WordPress for many years. I left it for a reason. And yeah, the constant updates is definitely one. The other one that is remarkably difficult, right, is so many plugins that are essentially hitting themselves in the head, not working together well, and you don't know until you don't try them together. So it becomes really, really weird and really, really complicated very quickly. But yeah, I think, Josh, I will have many questions as we go, I'm sure. But if you want to continue with the slides, thank you, Christoph, for those answers. And yeah, excited to ask you more.
Thank you.
Yeah, definitely. We can go to the next slide, and I would love to talk about how disable buttons are a thing that can cause some kind of disruptions in user experience. And I would love if Crystal, you would touch upon that.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm totally guilty of disabling submit buttons. And, I did this for years. And honestly, if you cannot find a way to get around, the submit event, this is one way you can go about doing it, but it is not the best way. It's not a best practice, right? It really does hurt the UX because often users are left with no explanation. They're trying to press a button that doesn't work. They don't understand why. They're not getting that immediate feedback. And then if you're a keyboard user, you're going to go through your form and then you're just going to keep going, right? Like, oh, what happened? Did I submit? Did I not submit? It's so confusing. So if you can avoid disabling the submit button, I say avoid it at all costs. And if you can't, there's some other ways I've tried to go around this with, when you leave a field and it's in error and you get an error message, I've tried sending focus to the error message. So at least they are getting feedback and not just like bypassing the submit button completely. But again, yeah, I just try to avoid this at all costs. And some of the bigger guys in the industry, I don't know if you guys have heard of Adrian Rosselli. He writes a pretty awesome blog. He's very blunt as an accessibility expert, and he will tell you to stop doing this. It is like the worst thing ever. So if you guys get a chance, I'll post his blog post if you guys want to check it out for yourselves too.
Yeah, would be very lovely to take a look at that. I believe Giga has some comments on disabled buttons. If you have,
I just wanted to know what are the visual indicators you mostly use for helping users to understand when it comes to the
Go ahead, Giga. So for visual indicators for error messages,
error messages, yeah.
So for visual indicators, I believe in allowing users to go through the form the first time and just fill it out however they want. Then when they hit the submit button, let's give them as much feedback as we possibly can. I also believe in giving them format information before they hit that submit button, right? So if they have to enter, one of my favorite ones is like the URL. Does it need a www or does it need the HTTPS? And please don't tell me this after I've typed the whole thing out, right? And then I have to go back and type it out again. That one kind of drives me crazy. So I like to give people that format information up front, whether it's directly within the label, which of course is the best way to do it, or through hint text. Please remember though that hint text with an ARIA describe by doesn't always work very well on your iOS computers or your Macs. So I would like to give them that information right there in the label. And then for the error messages, of course, name your field in error, place the error message adjacent to the field. And if you're using autocomplete attributes, which you absolutely should be using autocomplete attributes, put your error messages above the field so that's not competing.
Mm-hmm. I remember there have been a couple of times when I saw that the messages are not with the asterisks or mandatory, and then I randomly click submit or next, and then I get everything red, and I'm like, oh my god, what's happening here? Because I didn't know that I have to feel also that's really terrible for the user to, just have the feeling of everything is wrong.
Yeah.
And you have to start maybe, especially if it's a really big form.
Absolutely. And Giga, you bring up a great point with the asterisks, right? Like the most
Yeah.
confusing symbol when it comes to forums.
Yeah.
Like most people know what it means, other people don't. You need to explain it if you're using the asterisk what it means. But really, I really appreciate Adam Silver when he talks about why are we using optional fields at all? They should all just be required. Like, if you don't require a phone number, why are you going to put a field on your form asking people for their phone number? Nobody wants to give out their phone number these days, anyways. Just take the field off of there. Use all required fields. And that way, when someone comes to a form, they know exactly what they're supposed to do. There's no guesswork, right? Is this required?
Yeah.
Is this optional? And then if they fill it all out correctly, they get a submission.
Yeah. We also had once in my startup that's like, let's take asterisks and just say whatever is optional. So if you see
Right?
it's optional, then you understand this is the only field it's optional. The rest is mandatory.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great
Again,
point.
I don't want to take lots of time. We have a couple of more slides. So if not anyone, I can go to the next slide. Thank
I
you.
can, I can, I can, I
I do
can.
wanna-
I wanted to comment something that is a little bit different, maybe, but you, Giga, are located in US. Yash is in India. Crystal, I believe you're also in US. I don't know what part of the country. Victor is a Spaniard, but he's in somewhere in California. I'm located in Spain. But my question is, or my thing I want to bring is that you guys have a very specific law in US talking about this, talking about web accessibility. Thing that does not happen usually in most places of the world. So it's a must for you when you do work for clients or for your own, that all the webs have to have a specific accessibility level, because if not, those webs cannot be published. Is that correct, Crystal? I think.
So they can be published. There are lots and lots of inaccessible websites in the US that can be published, right? But the question is, should they be published? Because if you do have a public-facing website that you're inviting the public to come on and use, for instance, Domino's is a great example. You know, they invited everyone in the US to order pizza, and then their website was inaccessible, so they got hit with a really big accessibility lawsuit. So we do have the Title II of the ADA, which says that, you know, if you have a public-facing website, it has to be accessible by all people. And then we have the WCAG, which stands for Web Content Accessibility Guidelines. And these are guidelines with different conformance levels that tell you specifically what you need to meet. So you need to meet these specific success criteria in order to be considered accessible. So these will protect you from those legal risks. But Andrew, I wish more people felt like that, you know, they should take a look at these guidelines. They should implement these guidelines, because some people still truly believe that these are optional. You know, there's a lot of stereotypes around people with disabilities, and you know, accessibility absolutely should be included, but it's not always. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, I just wanted to notice that you, of course, all of us have accessibility, I would say, in mind, but for US, the market or the laws are different. I mean, yeah, because it's a must. Of course, anyone will, even Domino's Pizza will publish their website with errors or with big errors. But I think that it's a very good point, in the sense that your government, many years ago, I understand that the ADR requirements and so on are 20 years or 45 years old. I mean, it's not nothing new, and it's a very good point that at least you know that it's better to do it nice, well, because maybe you have a lawsuit. So that's fantastic. So let's continue. Giga, what was the next thing?
And here, sorry, but it should be, you know, it makes sense that this is illegal, right? In the same way that it should be that you design a building or a set of stairs or a sidewalk for someone, you know, a portion of your society to not use it. It should be equally illegal to create digital places and digital content hubs that do not allow some people to consume them, right? On that bit. So it's a good thing that there is a law, and there is obviously the advantages of a standards. But I invite any of you to take your latest website and go into a screen reader mode, for instance, right? Or try it yourself, and then go to a website where no one has considered a screen reader or anything else, and give it a try. And an extremely frustrating experience and you very quickly realize how you are making a difficult a difficult task much more harder just because you didn't want to dedicate some time to first learn them and to implement them. And once you do, it comes natural, right? I mean, the once that you have them in mind, it kind of becomes weird not implementing them, but it takes that first time effort. And I think the best way, if you don't consider it important today, just go test your website with a screen reader and come back to me, because you're going to realize very quickly it is really important, right? And I think experience it in your own flesh is the best way to kind of promote that empathy. So go give it a try. It hurts.
Absolutely.
Very true.
Yeah. We can
Yeah,
go to
thank
the
you.
next slide.
I think we just covered right a bit on the disable button and like all the form validations. Go
I
ahead,
do have a
Yash.
specific, yeah, I do have a specific question here, that there are places where you get the whole form becomes red when you click on submit, and you do not even know that where the actual error was. You're not even taking to that particular place or like that. If you have experienced something like that, Crystal, and just a bit about form validation, if you can touch upon on.
Yeah, absolutely. So sometimes red helps, right? But a lot of times people too can't see the color red because of color blindness or low vision issues. And so, turning everything red doesn't help everybody. And as Victor had expressed earlier, sometimes, or was that you, Giga? I'm sorry. One of the gentlemen had expressed, when everything turns red, it's like, oh my gosh, what did I do wrong? And a lot of times people are going to they're going to abandon their whole process at this point, right? Like, this is too frustrating. I don't want to do this. It can be shocking. So, I believe in doing it moderately. I do want to give feedback. I do want to give information, but I want to, tell users in a nice, polite way what's gone wrong and try to help them to fix that.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
yeah, and
I do believe that. Yeah.
go ahead,
Please
Yash.
say, yeah. I was saying that we also see that in this form there is a bit of a message at the very bottom. Would it be more preferred that if we have messages on the top, and what does it mean, like if you have it something like context in the top of the form or the bottom of the form? How does it matter even?
So I believe in placing my error messages above, because you can't see this one when you click into it, but if you were to click into the name field, you're going to have the autocomplete pop-up come below the field. And so that's going to cover up the error message. And so you're not going to be able to read those at the same time, which can also be frustrating for users. So I believe in putting those error messages above the field so that everything is nice and clear, and it's around the label area so nothing is missed, because also you have to think about screen magnification too. What if somebody has their screen magnified up to 400% and the error message is down here, and they might miss that really important information that you're trying to give them.
Yeah, I believe I am so guilty of this because I've been putting all my supporting text at the bottom, and I believe some of us have been doing that for so long. So yeah, I think I need to change that very quickly. Yeah, we can go to the next slide and talk about something that is Adam Silver's book about forms and the form design patterns. So yeah, I do want to get your view upon this book, this lovely book.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm a huge fan of Adam Silver. He wrote this book, I believe it was back in 2018. And this goes quite in depth with foreign design patterns. I believe there's an ebook version available, or you can get it in a hardback copy through Smashing Magazine. But it just takes you through, each form pattern quite in depth when it talks about, your form groups, how to group fields together properly, the most common form patterns. He's a huge believer in the marking things as optional, not required. He has been doing this a very long time and now offers a mastery course as well on his website. If you're not subscribed to his blog, I highly recommend it. He comes out with these blog posts once a week, gives out free tips. And if you really want to go in depth here, definitely get his course. But he's been doing this for a very long time and definitely knows the ins and outs of forms, even when his own form isn't working the best.
Amazing. I believe, Victor, you would have some points, and if you have also gone through this book.
both books that have been recommended are two Bibles, right? I didn't know that we have to have them ready. I have my books on the other room, so I cannot get them and show them on camera. But both of them are indeed Bibles, and it kind of shows you how wrong you can be about something so simple, right? In the sense that I think Crystal is right. I show me a website without the form. There are very few, right? Especially anything that has some interactivity. There are very few that has them, and even no, we have been on the web for now 20 plus, 30 plus years, and we still make really inaccessible forms as we go. It is kind of remarkable. And again, this is something that it was even before the web, right? We had forms on other types of software, and it is remarkable how we are not able yet to get them right. My next question, though, Crystal, was how I think you are in a very different position, right? Heading a studio. Obviously, I believe that with the law in your hand, you're going to be able to very quickly convince them on why a customer should worry about these things. But going the extra mile, going above what the law requires, etc., sometimes, at least in my experience, has been harder to kind of put that conscience out in customers, in people that there is always a deadline. They are always in a rush, right? And you are right. They always say that's something optional, something that can be improved later, or something that is not considered from the very beginning. I was wondering, you obviously run a business, right? At the same time, but the customer is always right until they are not, and then what?
So yeah, I worked with both customers, right? So I worked with the customer who really cares about inclusion and accessibility, and they want things done correctly, and they're willing to, spend the extra cost, if there is an extra cost, with the extra time that it takes to do things correctly. But now, I only work with customers who expect accessible products. And that's because me owning my own studio, I'm not going to build anything that's not accessible to the best of my ability, right? Do things still come out imperfect sometimes? Of course they do, because I'm human and, we miss things every now and then. But when someone is getting a website built by Graceful Web Studio, they can only expect that it's going to be accessible. And I've been doing this for so long now that I've figured out how to do these things and overcome these barriers in a really efficient way. So I actually kind of think that, me focusing on accessibility instead of the big fancy animations kind of balances out. So you've got like two kinds of customers from what I've seen. The ones that want the big flashy websites, right? And then the ones who really want the well-performing websites. And well-performing, like they don't care as much about the big flashiness. They want, high speeds, high performance, high return on investment. They want people filling out their forms. And so they're willing to come to somebody who knows accessibility, who knows usability, and wants to do that correctly from the beginning. And so just me as a practice, if somebody comes and they're like, oh, I don't care about accessibility. I want this big flashy thing on my homepage. And I'm like, well, let me introduce you to, a friend of mine who can help you out. And, I kind of just let them know that that's not our area of expertise, especially when they want an animation to last longer than 5 seconds with no pause, stop, hide. I'm like, cringe. I can't help you.
That tells you how successful Crystal is being with her studio. Something that tells you how successful you are is when you can say no to customers. That is an excellent measure of success, and it's a luxury, right? But I love this concept of no, you cannot expect anything from me that is not accessible. I think the web will be better if all of us did the same. To be completely honest, if we refuse to not do any website that is accessible, and is, I think, a great kind of piece. And I'm sorry because I don't want to monopolize, but you also mentioned, right, about your team inside the studio. I was wondering a little bit on the hiring side. Um, how do you usually evaluate people? Because we have a lot of young people in this server that is going to be, looking for their first job, maybe in UX, maybe in web design. What do you usually do? It's a code exercise. Are you looking at their portfolios? How do you hire?
Well, Victor, I am a one-woman show at the moment. So I'm actually looking at bringing on some designers in the pipeline. I'm looking at bringing on designers to do some accessible templates, actually. I want to be able to design a little library of templates and components that are fully accessible for Webflow. So when I think about hiring for designers, what I really want is, low pressure, someone who's not going to message me 100 times with their design portfolio, but definitely with high visibility, right? So I want to see someone who has a nice, well put together portfolio that shows their complexity and their versatility. And also their accessibility, right? So of course we're an accessibility studio. So I'm going to be looking at their color contrast. I'm going to be looking at their UX. I'm going to be evaluating it with that lens. And so anyone looking to work for my studio is going to have to make sure that they have those chops within their design. I don't expect them to know everything about accessibility, but definitely the first thing I'm going to look at is color contrast. The first thing I'm going to look at is UX elements. Are these passing contrast? Are these not passing contrast? How are they designing forms? I'd really love to work with somebody who already knows a few tricks of the trade, but also, with somebody, when you're hiring somebody, also with that lens that, this person has a passion for what they do, they care about what they do. Maybe I can help mentor them. I think mentorship is so important in this space too, because you can't really expect somebody to know everything, right? I want them to know colors as a starting point, right? I want them to know enough about colors to be able to get that one right. But really, bringing somebody on who doesn't know everything, like that's okay. And I'm okay with that because, being able to mentor somebody, I think is really important in this field because how are people supposed to learn and grow unless they have that? So really what I want to see is a well put together portfolio. I hope I'm answering your question, Victor, without going too far off here. And just somebody who's willing to put themselves out there in a sense of having that presence already online.
Yeah.
Fantastic answer. Thank you so much for that.
Absolutely.
I would also love to have Giga, who is also in Jobia AI, and I think that this would be a mention of AI in the talks now. And user experience and AI has been quite the thing that we are looking into. If Giga, if you have any questions regarding that, and if you want to punch into this AI
But
and UX.
let me do a
Sure,
commentary,
Andrew. Yeah.
a simple commentary. But today just is our very first after the 0 non-successful test. But we are almost 40 minutes on the show and we still haven't pronounced AI. So an applause to you and to all of us.
That was very hard. That was very hard.
No.
I knew it was coming.
No, but it's been fantastic. 40 minutes. That's impossible. So go ahead.
Oh yeah. Yeah, definitely. This is something a new kind of form of communication with the software and web and mobile, everything. And definitely, there's so many things that I would love to cover. And yeah, this is something that we are trying to be as careful as possible and use it as nicely as possible. The trends and everything what we see on the market. But I just wanted to say, like, everything, whatever you have described, Crystal, seems like for me a therapy. When you go there and you discuss your problems, you just realize that, oh, I know every answer for that. It's just me that I have to remember that always live with my values and everything. It just feels the same for me right now that, oh, of course we know all these rules more or less, how to create more accessible web pages or apps. So yeah, I think this is something that we should always remind ourselves to keep our products as accessible and as friendly as possible. And thank you for that. I just wanted to also mention in like maybe in the previous slide that I was the guy who said like the red error messages. And I think before even we go like with that issue that we face, there are also sometimes that we have problems with the how long forms are. And this is something also in my own startup that we were always like, I was always trading that I don't need one big, let's make sure that we have steps and it's easy on the customer. So if I can squeeze one question here, what's your take on that? If we have a bit bigger forms, how would you deal with this situations? As generally, and also if we want to have more accessible forms.
Yeah, so I actually just dropped a link about multi-step lead forms getting up to 3,000 more conversions. which is kind of crazy to think about. 3,000. I mean, this is from a company that, this is what they do, right? So hopefully they didn't adjust that number too much. But I am a big believer in multi-step forms. They are more difficult to be made accessible because you're running through validation through each step, right? So it's definitely becomes more complicated when you're running client-side validation, but I think it's totally worth it. Again, having only required fields on the form could be really helpful here. And then the multi-step forms, for some reason, people love the progression of them.
Yes.
And I think it really helps with cognitive load too. If you're asking somebody, you got 4 form fields and then they click next. Oh, they got 4 more. You're only dealing with 4 at a time though. So, even if you have 16 questions on your form, if you give them 4 steps to fill out and maybe a cute little star every time they fill out a step or something cute, just to let them know, put in a progress bar so they feel like they're completing as they go, even if they run into a difficult step. Yeah. I'm a huge believer in multi-step forms, but they have to be done correctly. Yeah.
That's a good point. Yeah, I'm also 100% agree on that, and I feel as a user, I feel like, oh, I accomplished something. I have progress.
Right.
I made the progress, and then more and more is coming, but then you are fine. I think we're going to questions we had prepared for you, Crystal. I think we covered the first one, but do you want to talk more about the book club, Yash?
Yeah, I would say so that it is also one of the questions that we have, and I would just want to know about how did you started with the accessibility book club, and for audience to know what this is about, what's the thing that accessibility book club brings to the table. So yeah.
Great. Yeah, thanks, Josh. This is my baby. So back in 2023, I realized that as a professional in the accessibility space, I wasn't reading as much, right? I was spending a lot of time building, but I wasn't really reading like I used to. And so I wanted to challenge myself for a New Year's resolution to read more in 2024. And that was going to be my slogan to start the year 2024. And I decided to invite all of LinkedIn to join me in this New Year's resolution. And I got an overwhelming response that people were really interested. They wanted to read. They were like, oh, is there enough accessibility books that we could actually have a club, right? Yash was one of my first. Yeah, you were so excited. You were like, yes, let's do this. And so I was like,
definitely.
okay. Yeah, so there was so much interest that I decided to put together a year of books. I did 12 books in 12 months, and I posted them within LinkedIn. And then we got like 1,000 members before the end of the year. And I was like, oh man, people are interested. People want to read. And I created the Accessibility Book Club website so that we can showcase our annual book list. I started doing a blog. We started inviting authors for Q&A sessions. And it's really kind of turned into a thing. So yeah, Yash can speak to it as one of our members too. I mean, it's a lot of fun, right?
Yeah, I do remember our first conversations. I just joined in and I was looking at the book, the web accessibility cookbook that I right now have in my hand, and it was manual. I contacted both of them, just waited for a week or so to get a response. Crystal was very, I would say, prompt to give a response about the club. I was just joined the club. I think it was also that my starting time in LinkedIn, so I didn't know much bit about LinkedIn. Yeah, so I just used to hang out in this club, and it was such a lovely community. And I think that I just had this first conversation. It was a video chat on Google Meet or something. It was with Manuel, and it was like I think it has been an year or so, almost an year, and it was just amazing to hear about accessibility and folks that actually care about accessibility and have spent like half of their lives to be making inaccessible website, then the rest half of their lives to be correcting those inaccessible websites. So yeah.
Yeah, it's so much fun, and it's the community too. Absolutely, people share what they're reading, share other books that they're interested in. We get to meet some really great people, and I was actually, Yash, I don't know if I told you or not. I was invited to be one of 12 authors on an accessibility book. It's called Inclusive Design for Accessibility, and it will be published at the end of 2025.
That's
So,
amazing, and yeah, I didn't know
thanks.
about that before. So, yeah.
Yeah, I'm really excited. I mean, it's like the 12, I don't want to say disciples, but there's 12 individuals in accessibility that just came together. We each wrote a chapter. It's going to be a lot of fun. I can't wait to get that out there and promote it. We'll definitely have a large author Q&A for that one.
Amazing. Amazing. I would love Andrew to be asking any questions about the book club or anything that he has in mind.
I think it's fantastic. You know that I have a certain. This is not going to be too public, but I have a certain thing against LinkedIn. But I recognize that it has some power of attracting people. It depends on the contents you do. So, very good job, Crystal, and very nice that you have grown this large community there. I was trying to search for the page and share it here on the screen, but I didn't find it. But I imagine that you already shared the URL on the chat, maybe.
On the chat,
yeah. It is.
I did, yeah.
Yeah. So this way people can find it. Ah, yes.
Absolutely.
Because
Yeah, I just
I was
shared the
looking
website.
I was looking for it on LinkedIn. So okay, all the Googles bring me to this 11 iBook Club. Very nice. So guys, and Crystal, we have 47 minutes on this very first episode, and I know it's been so special. It's our first time together, and we try to not be too long on this, and I think maybe we can have another opportunity in the future to share more insights about the UX. So maybe we can have another program with you, Crystal, in the future. But I wanted to start to close this thing. Just sharing my screen. I'm trying to share my screen because I'm not so. Maybe you have to stop sharing, Giga. For me,
Sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
I wanted to show you all of this. Maybe this guy, Yash Rax, has something to tell us about this. What is this Plan Your IO regarding to UX? Explain.
Yeah, so Google is actually announcing the Google I/O, which is coming up in the 19 May, and 2021 May is the program. So yeah, I'm just really excited to tune into Shoreline. Actually, I'm going to the spot there. So I would be there at Mountain View and talking about some of the things that the Chrome team has been doing and some of the demos that I was making for this year. Actually, I was reached out by Una from the Chrome team and they just really loved it. So it would be that one thing is confirmed that they would be showcasing my work that has been done, some of the demos that I have made, and would be creating me on the stage. So yeah, it is just very lovely to have
What's the
this
exact name of the
first time.
session, Josh? What is the name of the session? Just to, because there are a lot.
I am sure it has to do. Yeah, I will just confirm the name. I think it has to do with CSS functions and what's new in the CSS with the Chrome team. So something around that, I believe.
Okay.
So it is like what's new in the web UI talk, something like that.
This one. Okay.
So yeah.
Okay, this one. So there will be live stream available. So you're gonna be a more famous colleague. Okay, fantastic.
Yeah.
Very good. Very nice.
Yeah.
So I have to say, because if not, I will die. That at least me and Victor are very envy of you, because the first time we meet with Victor and I, it was in Google I/O 2012, a little bit so many years ago, and we are not going this year, unless Victor, you say that you're going. No.
No, I'm not going. Very, very busy, sadly. But yeah.
But Yash is going. So Yash, congratulations. A very, very good.
Google I/O is for the young, clearly, Andreu. I mean, 12 years ago already. Tell us about your age, and
it was more than 12. He was in 2012, so it's been 13. So yes, have a very good experience, because when we in the future do the second episode, you will have to explain us all your experience at Google I/O. Not only related to the UX matter, of course, this is the focus of this conversation, but also for your own experience. That it's going to be your second time in California, I know, because we were there together in past October. So guys, I think that's been 50 minutes. Crystal, thank you very much for your time. We appreciate it a lot. Very, very, very important things. Giga, Yash, Victor. Our plan is to have at least one of these conversations every month, and just stay tuned to the Google Discord Developers Online channel. And also let me thank to the organizers or to the managers of this Discord channel, Lorena and the team of the Callum and so on, Barry, people that has helped us on the arrangement of this streaming. So thank you and see you soon. Bye-bye. Take care.
Yes.
Thank you, Andrew. Thank you for everything.
Bye.
Thank
Thank
you
you,
for
guys.
having me.
Just want to say,
Thank you
yes,
so much.
thank you,
Bye-bye.
Crystal, for joining this very lovely community. Yeah, and lovely talk. Yeah,
Thank you.
Thank you,
Bye,
guys.
everyone.
amazing.
Hi.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Ciao.